Mwachukwu, and these are the top stories. Pat Utomi slams opposition parties over failure to lead protest. Federal government discloses hardship only temporary, reforms yielding positive results. Shehu Sani lambast President Tinubu never deceived Nigerians. He was frank during his campaign. And Tinubu's wife launches renewed hope initiative for women farmers in Southeast. Details now. The world news begins with renowned political economist Pat Utomi, who has berated the opposition parties in Nigeria for failing to lead protests amid worsening economic hardship in the country. You would recall that the Nigeria Labour Congress and other related unions protested the high cost of living, inflation, insecurity, and hardship in the country. The union revealed that its members and leadership were threatened and intimidated against carrying out their planned two-day nationwide protest. However, after Tuesday's successful protest across various state capitals and major cities, the NLC announced the suspension of its planned second-day protest, saying the objectives of the protest had been achieved on the first day. Shedding more light on the development, the NLC President Joe Ajaro on Wednesday revealed that the cancellation of the second-day protest was a strategic move on the part of the Nigeria Labour Congress. He, however, added that if the federal government fails to comply with the demands of the union within the new ultimatum given, the National Executive Council of the NLC would reveal the next line of action. Reacting, Utomi, in a post on his X handle on Thursday, said labor unions are now the ones leading protests because political parties are failing. According to him, opposition parties lead protests in other places, and it is why the building of real parties is imperative. Meanwhile, the federal government has promised Nigerians that the economic hardship felt across the country will only be temporary. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, made the promise during a ministerial press briefing in Abuja on Wednesday. According to the minister, the reforms and measures adopted by Bola Tinubu's administration is to cure structural dislocations in the economy, and they're beginning to yield results. He said the reforms of the government have already begun to yield positive results, as seen in the GDP growth of 3.46% in the fourth quarter of 2023, compared to 2.54% recorded in the third quarter of 2023. The minister also noted a sharp decline of refined petroleum importation by about 50% following the removal of the petroleum subsidy, as well as a rise in oil production from 1.2 million barrels per day to 1.55 million. He added that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has equally given approval for the Social Security unemployment programs designed to tackle the needs of unemployment graduates. He assured that the rejigging of the National Social Investment Program direct disbursement of 25,000 naira to 50 million households will resume immediately to cushion the impact of the reforms on citizens. Idris also pointed out that the Tinubu's government also has a hold on banditry and insecurity generally. Elsewhere, a former lawmaker representing Kaduna Central in the Senate, Shehu Sani, has blamed the ongoing economic hardship in the country on erstwhile President Muhammadu Buhari. Sani insisted that President Bola Tinubu never deceived Nigerians, adding that he had earlier informed the citizenry of his intention to remove subsidy when he comes into power. He argued that if Buhari had implemented some of Tinubu's economic policies, there would not be hardship in the country. Sani insisted that the Buhari administration allowed the country to deteriorate to the present economic crisis plaguing the nation. The former lawmaker shared his thoughts during an appearance on a monitored television program, Politics Today, on Wednesday. He said, and quote, "We must be very factual and realistic with ourselves. The problem we find ourselves today originated, was engineered, fabricated and sustained by the Buhari administration. The Buhari administration institutionally, fundamentally destroyed the Nigerian economy," end quote. In a recent development, the wife of the president, Remi Tinubu, on Tuesday inaugurated the Maiden Renewed Hope Initiative Women's Agricultural Support Group program for the Southeast to boost agriculture in the region. In a speech at the ceremony in Owerri, Mrs. Tinubu said the program was in fulfillment of her commitment to continuing to promote the welfare of the women folk, particularly farmers in the country. She said the Renewed Hope initiative was committed to supporting women farmers with a broader national agenda to strengthen the agricultural sector. She also disclosed that the beneficiaries in Imo would commence their training during the week, while other beneficiaries in the zone would commence their capacity training as scheduled by NALDA. Mrs. Tinubu said that the women would receive agricultural inputs such as fisheries, 50 fingerlings and feeds for each farmer, and poultry, 25 3-week-old birds and feed for each poultry farmer. She said that those for arable farms will receive a bundle of improved cassava and fertilizer for each agrarian farmer. Now, joining me to talk about this and more issues on the world news at 12, I have right here in the studio a former Commissioner of Police of your state, CP Chuks Enwonwu. CP, good afternoon and welcome to VOP 90.3 from studios.
Good afternoon to you, Esther.
Good afternoon. This is our news analysis segment where we try to give a better comprehension on some of the stories read during the news, so we have a better factual understanding of what these issues are all about. I want to start off with what Sheikh Husani said about President Bola Tinubu. He said that the president did not lie during his campaign, that the president was apt. He indeed told Nigerians that he was going to remove fuel subsidy. He indeed told Nigerians that the poor would breathe. He indeed told Nigerians most of the things we're experiencing now that he would do, that the person that we should blame or Nigerians should blame should be former President Muhammadu Buhari, which Tinubu is trying to possibly restructure or rebuild. Would you agree with Sheikh Husani?
I think I should do that. Okay. I align myself with the position of Senator Sheikh Husani.
Okay.
Because it seems as if Buhari was overwhelmed by the affairs of state, to the extent that there are certain areas he wasn't conversant with.
Okay.
And he did not engage those who could have articulated things and who would have gathered him properly to avoid these mistakes and pitfalls all over the place. If, for instance, you cast your mind back on what came to the fore after he had left, you would have realized that things like printing of the naira by ways and means that came to about 23 trillion was part of what really exacerbated the problems we found ourselves in, because that quantum of naira that was pumped into circulation had no backing whatsoever, and the resultant effect is what we see today, especially if you go to the foreign exchange market, where the float of naira has been ongoing. Is part of what is making the naira fall against the dollar to a very unexpected dimension. And it seems that there is no solution even at the end of the tunnel. Because if you look at it, you find out that today the naira has been so undervalued.
Seriously undervalued.
It has been so, and it is artificial creation by a lot of politicians and the ruling class, whose tendency is on how to mop up the limited quantity of foreign exchange in the market. So when you are Sheikh Husani is absolutely right.
So you agree with what he's saying?
I do.
All right, let's come up to this. You remember that during the campaign, when there was a Godwin Emefiele situation with a cash crunch and Naira redesign, there were speculations arrived that the reason why this impromptu Naira redesign came on board was because they wanted to stop vote buying.
Yes.
And one of the reasons was that they felt President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had money and he was going to buy votes. He was going to spend money to buy votes.
Yes.
To stifle that or to quench that from actually taking place, the Naira redesign being introduced was going to, reduce that kind of impact on buying people's voting conscience. Now, one of the interviews, the president said, again, in responding to that, because people died, people were queuing, there was no money, people couldn't buy food, and the president was asking the then government, please let the poor breathe. Now, the president has been affirmed. 8 years or 9 months down the line, we have had insecurity increased. There is inconsistent power supply, which, to be fair, during the former administration, electricity was at par. What's okay? The Naira has been highly undervalued. In the space of 1 week, you get to hear the Naira falling almost 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
Now, we've seen the CBN governor, Yemi Cardoso, come to give us different scenarios, paint different scenarios as to what is causing the Naira devaluation, what is causing the increment in food prices, and the policies that they're implementing to repair that. But in realistic terms, no Nigerian is ready to listen to the statistics. They're not ready to listen to what the formation is. They want to just have access to food. They want to buy food. They want to be able to provide for their homes, and they're not seeing that now. At the moment, the power supply situation feels like way back during Obasanjo's time. So a lot of Nigerians are saying maybe Buhari's administration is better than this administration. But you are agreeing with Sheikh Husani that these problems we're facing is a fallout from the previous administration.
Exactly.
If the president already knew what to do and how to handle this, are we not supposed to begin to see quick measures to ameliorating most of these challenges?
Well, I think the present regime is beginning to get things right now, because over time, I am one of the apostles that have been pointing out areas where the leakages are. And I'm glad at last, maybe somehow, he has gotten to toe that line. I was talking of enlarging the economic team to accommodate those who are seasoned in economic management, who had done it before and has succeeded. Like mentioning, bringing in people like Okonjo Iweala, SLS, Soludo, and so on and so forth. And then this Stephen Oresanya's report.
But the president has constituted an economic advisory team.
But it wasn't large enough.
It wasn't large enough. But even with the members in that team, Nigerians are not comfortable. They say those ones will still reap the economy.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't trust their judgment in terms of anything about the economy. They still feel they're the ones who are running the economy aground.
Yes.
And they're the same people he put in to advise him on how to resuscitate the economy. So
I looked at the team and I wasn't really comfortable too. That was why I said, look, we need to, in as much as these are president's points, we need to enlarge this and bring in people that are seasoned in this, thing. They have been doing it not just for Nigeria; they have done it for other economies, and it worked magic overseas. From the testimonies are there. So why not bring them in and let's try the other way around to see whether things will get better. And I'm glad that we are beginning to see that. Let's see how the thing turns out, And furthermore, you see, part of the problem we are having that is causing this Naira to slide faster is, in as much as it is on floating basis, whereby the thing is left to the principles of demand and supply to find its level. Part of the problem is that you come to find out that after each federal and the gari and crayfish and so on and so forth, because you see, people will say we are talking of dollar, naira. What effect does it have on gari? Gari, is it not locally produced? I said, what? You see, you can't isolate things when you're talking of economy. The gari you're talking of, how is it produced? The labor cost is one. The machinery that is put into the production, the diesel you buy, to run the generator. How much are you buying diesel? 1,500 a liter. You factor in all those things. What of the transportation? The truck that will take it buys diesel. The man buys tire. How much is tire in the market? When you do dollar to naira, analysis and all that. So you see that there's no way you can isolate up to pure water.
Yes, it's actually now I'm hearing may have to be sold for 100 naira. May have to be.
So you now get where I'm coming from.
But CP, let me say something, or let me ask you something in regards to your response.
Yes.
The president on Wednesday, just yesterday, appealed for patience from Nigerians.
For how long?
You know that he went to meet the widow of late Rotimi Akeredolu in Osun State as of yesterday.
Okay.
And he had to appeal for patience from Nigerians over the current economic hardship in the country. He gave the assurance that there was light at the end of the tunnel. The president said he was fully aware and that he took responsibility for the difficulties Nigerians have been subjected to on an account of government policies. And he says he would not complain but welcome all criticism since he was the one who asked to be Nigeria's president. And this was when I told you yesterday when he went to Ondo State during his visit to the leader of the Pan-Yoruba socio-political organization, Afárafárá. He also used the opportunity to pay a condolence visit to the family of the late former Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, and he talked about the fuel subsidy removal, which was instituted by him, which attracted public censure following high cost of living, food inflation, and other side effects, which has compelled the Labour Congress to go on protest and other Nigerians as well to go on protest. Now, the president has said, I take full responsibility, meaning I am at fault.
Yes.
I take all your criticism from me. So the plan is, since I've taken responsibility, help me, let's work together to make things better. But Nigerians feel he has no clue as to how to make that happen. And in the process of him trying to find a clue, people are dying, people are suffering, and the economy keeps deteriorating. So he's going to Qatar, possibly to see how he can have an economic synergy. Tell me, CP, is it possible for the president to do something magical? I don't know what magic will imply within now and possibly the next 3 months to possibly curb the suffering.
You see, all these palliatives we are doing is just a transient or temporary thing.
Okay.
It will not solve the problem. The solution, if we need to tell ourselves the truth, two things. One, guarantee security for the farmers.
Okay.
Focus more on food production. How long does it even take to grow rice, for instance? 3-6 months you are harvesting. There are so many fertile land to grow the rice. What efforts are the government and those responsible for food production making, especially the Minister for Agriculture? It calls for an emergency. Get the farmers encouraged. Give them the tools to work.
Well, which is what his wife is doing now.
Guarantee security for the people that will go to the farms. I bet you in the next 6 months we'll have results. This hunger thing will gradually come down. Yes.
All right, let's look at corruption. It's another strong vice.
I was even coming to that.
Which critics feel is a problem with his administration, and that he's not going to focus on fighting corruption. That sense of transparency that he expects Nigerians to expect from him or his administration may not be gotten. We saw the whole Better Edu Gate. That whole situation, nobody knows what the update is.
Yes.
So that's also a problem. Secondly, you have his chief of staff being embroiled in that. You see the Minister of Interior too involved in that. These are key officials within the president's cabinet that are embroiled in corruption allegation situations. Now, a candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the just concluded Ebonyi South senatorial by-election, Barrister Silas Onu, dragged the APC flag bearer, Senator Anthony Onani, to court seeking his disqualification on the grounds of certificate forgery and ineligibility to stand for the poll. Onu in the petition is also contending that the declaration of Ani as winner of the election by INEC is invalid, by reasons of non-compliance with the Electoral Act. The candidate is the first petitioner, while his party PDP is a second petitioner. Now, this has prompted the National Assembly to declare the seat vacant, and INEC should conduct a by-election on February 3rd, 2023 to fill the vacant seats. So here is the situation. This was the same premise through which Atiku Abubakar fought the president, in court, not literal, yes, but at least fought the president to say President Bola Tinubu is not eligible because of certificate forgery, which has not been proved to be genuine.
Exactly.
Now, critics now went when this information came out to say, oh, apparently this administration is rife with this. And if the president could be declared the winner with all of these anomalies in place, and there are evidences to portray that, it means that that kind of impunity will be seen across several forums or across several sectors within this administration. So if we still have this fundamental contending factor, how would the rest of his administration go with regards to issues like this?
You see, like this Ebonyi South senatorial rerun election that is coming on the 3rd, even after the election would have taken place, the question is, whatever is the outcome, is it going to hold? Just like you cited instance of all that President Bola Tinubu went through, and still at the end of the day, he's sitting there as declared as the president and confirmed, signed and sealed by the Supreme Court. A similar scenario also played out in Enugu, where Sondemba, the governor, it was made manifestly clear by the NYSC, where the Director General of the NYSC, a serving Brigadier General, came and said, this man did not pass through our NYSC. We didn't give him certificate. And then the court ended up with INEC saying that the man has an authentic NYSC. So which
do we believe?
Who do we believe now? Is it the court that issues the certificate, or is it the INEC? That will show you the extent of the way things have gone. It has really gone haywire.
Yes.
So what do you now expect even in the forthcoming one that they are going to hold on the 3rd of February? So it is like anything goes. Whatever we see, we take. It is part of the experiments we are having in our journey in democracy.
All right. CP Chooks, we've actually run out of time, but I want to say thank you so much. I would have actually asked you more questions, because in terms of having to re-energize and encourage, we saw the president's wife, actually implementing the Renewed Hope initiative in trying to help the women in the southeast with the agrarian sector, providing tools and access to small funds to enable them kick off their farming. Critics have actually said that, is it because recently the Igbos have been saying that we're not going to join in the protest against the president? We are contented, we are doing okay, and they're actually supporting that the president must run for 8 years. And so everyone is like, okay, apparently the Southeasterners are not complaining about what is going on in the country. They're actually showing support, and they're saying possibly this is one of the reasons why this initiative came on board. Do you think that is so, or this is part of the project that had already been on ground before the announcement of the project?
The thing is political, just like some people will be contending that the essence is to see how they woo those women on the side of the government, especially come 2027. That is just what is playing out. But let me even tell you the reality on ground. You see, the Igbos have come to realize one thing, that if anything is on ground and they lend their voice or try to show support like every other person, their own always turn to something else. At the end of the day, they will say they are the ones, the originators, they are the ones who coordinated, they are the ones who planned, they are the ones who want to bring down the government. So they have learned lessons to stay away. Okay, look at even 2023 elections. The Igbos did not say, Obi, you must go and run on behalf of Igbo. Obi went on his own as an individual. He was not brought out by the Igbos. He went and did well in the election. They turned round and began to face the Igbos. Every small thing, fought. Igbo has done this. Omo Igbo has done that. You'll be wondering, so what do they want the Igbos to do? Do they want them to run into their Lagos Lagoon, those who are in Lagos, or to run into Atlantic Ocean to make these people happy? So when things like this happen, you see them. They have learned from what happened in 15th January 1966, where some rascals or some majors in the army, nobody sent them, went and removed the government. They turned around and began to kill. A total extermination of the Igbos was the target. That means there was deep-seated animosity, hatred, and wickedness towards them in those days. And the thing has been lingering even after the war. Look at what happened in the indigenization decree of 1974, you know, and so on and so forth. Every small thing before, in the late 70s, 80s, any small quarrel between two northerners, they'll descend on the Igbos. They'll go and pawn their markets, they'll go and loot their shops, and tell them to leave. They don't need them in the north. So these things have been playing out over and over until Igbos resisted them in 1991 in Kano and fought them. Because Ojukwu said, where are you going to run to again? You tried the civil war, they said no. Now you are peaceful, you're doing your things. They still don't want you to function. Where are you going to run to? So all those things are, the cumulative effect is what is playing out now. Whether the country turns upside down, Igbos will just quietly sit one side and be watching them. One way or the other, they have always survived. So it's not a question of anybody trying to use them to play politics. They will not fall for that bait.
So you're saying that this initiative, with its good intentions and the possibility for alleviating poverty and encouraging the women to be productive and having access to food, that there could be some political inclinations towards that initiative?
On that tone, as far as I am concerned.
All right, CP Chooks, thank you so much. Like I said, our time is fast spent. I do appreciate you lending your perspective on these issues of the World News at 12.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. To wrap up the world news, here again are the top stories. You heard Pat Utomi slams opposition parties over failure to lead protest. Federal government discloses headship only temporary, reforms yielding positive results. Shehu Sani lambasts Tinubu never deceived Nigerians. He was frank during his campaign. And Tinubu's wife launches renewed hope initiative for women farmers in Southeast. That's a wrap on the world news at 12. My name is Esther Mwachuku. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Up next is Matters with Ikami Judah.
A new dawn, a new story from the station that keeps you informed. Breaking news, fresh from the scene.
We have a lot all over the country who have been shouting and saying no, because we know that that's a very faulty direction that the present government